AMP2.TV presents You and Your Doctor, teaching you to live a longer and healthier life. Proudly sponsored by All County Healthcare, where people are the heart of our business. All County Healthcare is a Medicare certified agency where one call will service all your home care health needs. For more information, call 954-717-7027 or visit our website, allcountyhealthcare.com. Now, let's get informed to living a longer and healthier life. Here is your host for today's show.
Hi, welcome. I'm Lorena Anderson, your life and energy coach, and we are so pleased to have you here with us today. What I'd like to do is let you know this show is all about you and your doctor, and also the various things that are so important in maintaining your well-being, whether it's questions about insurance, Medicare, reverse mortgages. We're here every Tuesday from 6 to 7. And we also want your questions. So if you happen to have a question that you can give to us, please give us a call at 888-565-1470, 1470. So we have a really exciting guest for our evening show today. We have two of them. We have a fitness trainer, a personal trainer that we're really, really excited to have here. And I'd like to introduce Carla Dunlap. Kaan,
as in James Kaan with a K.
James Kaan, okay. Excellent. Now, just so you know, this is being presented by AMP2.TV. That's AMP2.TV. So you can watch us live streaming, or you can also listen on 1470 AM. So please, if you've got some questions for Carla, please call in, because we want to answer all your questions. We want to help you make good choices so that you can continue with your quality of life and your well-being and bring on your joy and your happiness.
Absolutely.
Right?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about Carla. Tell us about you, my dear.
Some people may know me as Carla Dunlap, or Carla Dunlap without the Kaan on it. I was a former professional bodybuilder. I've been an all-around athlete all my life, and I've traveled the world giving seminars on health and fitness and gym safety, training techniques, etc. I'm certified in Pilates, in functional training, in special populations, and several different modalities in physical training. Also, I'm an aquatics instructor, and I work out of Avenue Pilates in Delray.
Well, as you can very well tell, we have an absolute total expert here, and I am telling you, you have a list. You have a long list of what you end up doing. Phew. God, that's fabulous. That is fabulous. And you don't look more than, 25 years old.
Oh,
how have you been able to manage all that in such a short period of time?
Oh, let me tell you something. We have a few 25s behind the name. But
I wouldn't know a thing about that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your training and what you have done to be able to achieve these goals that you've set out for yourself.
Well, actually, ever since I was a child, I've always wanted to compete in the Olympics, and I managed to get pretty close because my sport was not in the Olympics. I swam synchronized swimming, and so I have a couple of national titles in synchronized swimming, and I've continued to do synchronized swimming as a training modality for myself now. But what I'm most interested in now is, because I'm aging, is really taking my knowledge and applying it to fitness so that people that are my age and around my age, 50s to anywhere up to 80, 90 years old, are trained in a realistic manner.
Yes.
In other words, you don't get the 20-year-old trainer, not that they're not good, but I think
they're really good for 20-year-olds. Are you kidding? I don't know. I have a trainer. He's 25. Sometimes, it's
sometimes
tough.
They don't comprehend what really happens to the body as it ages.
and I have to tell him, I said, excuse me, that ain't going to work.
I do need to walk tomorrow.
Or at least get up and down, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had those situations where all of a sudden it's like, Oh my goodness!
Oh, yeah.
Where's the handles? Because I can't use my legs anymore.
You go to walk down the stairs and your thighs go, oh no, don't step down on that step.
I was just going to say the couch. Good luck getting up and down off the couch. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
But anyway, one of the things that I find, or several things, is that it's really critical for older people to really be concerned about balance and coordination and functional movement. So, while it's great to do arm curls and whatnot for arm strength, it's a better idea to do a movement and combine it with a movement that's really utilized in daily life.
Oh,
so
okay.
Let's say a person picking their groceries up from a low station and putting them up on a high shelf. You can use a kettlebell or a weighted medicine ball or something like that and actually have them go through those motions repetitively.
Wow.
It builds a brain, how should we say, a neuromuscular pathway for the body to use. And so as they get older and let's say their muscle integrity may not be what it used to be, you can teach the body to expect to do these movements and keep the integrity of the muscles through these movements. Cardiovascular training is important, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the same type as getting on that treadmill or that piece of equipment and riding hard for 40 or 50 minutes. Small increments that are reasonable for the joints to handle or reasonable for the heart and the lungs to handle in an older person.
Yeah.
So it's a little different approach than you would have with a younger client.
I realize that. I mean, and I was a fitness trainer way back.
That's I understand.
Yeah, about, 10 years ago or something like that.
I won't hold you to that.
Oh, yeah. You know something? I know, I have to admit, I have to be honest. Okay, I was a fitness trainer. I think I started when I was 51.
Okay.
As a fitness trainer. And that's when I noticed, I started getting really nice and strong because I used to work out with my clients. And then what I noticed is that as time has been going on, the muscles atrophy. Even though you're still using them and everything, but the joints start feeling a little more stiff and all of a sudden the muscle mass that you had starts depleting even though you're doing the same amount of exercising. So I was like, oh, God, no.
Yeah, there's a natural curve to muscle development and hypertrophy as you get older. You can do the same things. Not that you have to keep a very high level. You want to hit a maintenance level unless you're a competing athlete of some type. Yeah. If you're not, if you're playing golf and so forth, then you want to work within the range that's sport specific and is realistic for the amount of effort that you're going to put out.
Gotcha.
That you can easily perform those leisure activities.
No, golf is very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Golf is real eye-hand coordination.
Oh my gosh! Well, I've only been playing for like 2.5 years, and I have got to tell you, I've pulled this muscle. I have golf elbow over here. My neck, and I'm like, I never had those problems when I'm just doing strength training. Just building biceps or triceps or the hamstrings, the glutes, that kind of thing. And I'm like, this is really tough. Keep that arm straight.
Yeah, it's really is tough. But even if you're not playing golf, if you're just doing things like many of my clients play mahjong, they play bridge and those sorts of things.
Oh yeah, that's really tough on the muscles.
Well, here's the thing. You want to train so that amount of time that you're sitting and not doing anything is really negated by having some activity time. So in the case that you're sitting for, a couple hours doing a bridge, where they have competitions and stuff like that.
Right.
Get out and walk.
Yeah.
You have to balance that out. You can't always sit. And when you're exercising, you want to do active exercise and those things that have you sit all the time, like sitting and doing arm curls or sitting on the machines all the time. Use those minimally. Use something that gives you multiplanar action where you can move up and down and change your levels.
I was like, wow, ranges. That's a big word. Multiplanar. Say that again.
Multiplanar action.
Multiplanar action. Okay.
So in other words, you're moving through several ranges of motion.
Right.
And people understand that, when you look at how you move in life, you don't just move right, left, and back and forth. You move through ranges up and down, you rotate your torso, you turn your head, you tilt, you lean, you rock and roll, you go through all sorts of ranges. And you want to keep those ranges oiled up and keep them moving.
Yes.
So that you don't get into what we call the mummer's walk. That side to
I called that
side.
waddling. I think I experienced that when I was pregnant.
Yes.
The waddle.
Get that wide base of support so that you don't fall over.
Yes. Well, and that's what I do. I find myself now, when I'm putting on my exercise clothes, I don't sit down. I'm standing up, and then I am pulling up my bottoms or whatever. But I'm also making sure that I'm balancing. So I'm really feeling those stabilizer muscles,
Right.
which are so important. And and I dealt with some of the elderly as well. And one of the biggest things that I was teaching them is how to just sit down on the chair and get back up.
Correct.
Sit down, get back
Correct.
up. So
One of the first things that people lose, even younger people, and I've had younger people come in who couldn't stand on one leg.
wow.
That's really sad.
Oh, that is.
But as people get older, they tend to widen their stance of support because they're afraid of falling, and well, they should be.
okay.
So when you start teaching them how, one, to gyro so that they can catch their balance, if you start to tip off balance, how to correct the body position so they can catch themselves and come back up.
Wow.
Of course, there are falls that you can't prevent.
Right.
But having that feeling and training the body to expect that and to have some sort of response for it is really important. We work them on half rounds. We work them in ways where on little flat discs, sometimes just on Eric's foam pads, where it just destabilizes their stance enough that they have to work with staying upright and moving through their functional training.
Wow, that is impressive. And that's so important
Oh, it's very important.
because, as they get older, as we all get older.
Yeah, as
I guess I gotta.
like we don't belong to that group.
I know. Well, I'm into the fight. I don't know about you, but I'm into the fight. I'm at the gym.
Oh,
I'm
very
working
much
it out.
into the fight.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I could tell.
Absolutely.
You look fabulous, of course. Yes. So, as I'm going through all the exercises that I used to do, how important it is to make sure that each of those muscle areas and getting strengthened, and then also stretching.
Oh, absolutely. Flexibility and extensibility, really critical. And I think it becomes more critical as you get older because of the fact that your muscles tend to shorten. If you don't use them, they tend to shorten quicker. You're not less likely to do the big movements that you did when you were younger. So keeping big movements in place is really good for just, how should I say, an involuntary stretch where you're keeping your arms and your legs and your body moving through a great range of motion. But flexibility, so many people short shrift flexibility in their workouts. They do an hour in the gym and they do 5 minutes of stretching. I'm like, okay, you need to just do.
Well,
give
at a
yourself
young
little more.
age, they can probably handle that. As we start getting a little
Well, but
older, we need to do
First
that
of all,
stretching.
stretching's very painful for most people because they either stretch incorrectly or they do the improper positions for the stretches. So, it's hard. And if you're tight, it's not that pleasurable to go. And it's easier to go and pick up a 10-pound dumbbell or a 20-pound dumbbell or whatever it is and see immediate results. Stretching takes consistency, and you have to work with it all the time.
Gotcha. Yes, because as soon as you don't,
it disappears.
Yeah, it does. It's like immediate. Like
you
I
have
was
to
just sitting here
recognize.
and I was just stretching out the
It feels good to
shoulder.
do that.
Oh, yeah.
But you also have to recognize that you can stretch too much. You can destabilize the joints, and that's something you don't want to do. So for elderly folks, you want to give them enough flexibility that they can easily move through a range of motion, but that they're not destabilized in any way.
Gotcha. It brings a question because sometimes, I've had certain trainers as I've, come along this level of life, right? And I had one trainer who would have me stretching after each set. So, and I was always like, okay, should I be stretching in between sets or stretching after the set or stretching after the whole entire workout? So I think that's one of the questions that maybe some of the audience members might have.
Well, the current thinking is that stretching can actually, if you're doing any sort of power movement, stretching can actually kill your strength. So, because you don't want to elongate the muscle if you're intending to cause some sort of
Contractions on
contraction and force. Flexibility training should be after the body is fairly warmed up or goes through motion, and actually use the motion. Let's say if you're going to do arm curls, maybe you want to do some arm swings or something that just lubricates the joint, and then load the muscle.
Okay.
Stretching in between, I've been guilty of doing that because I just like to stretch. I mean, I come from a dance background, so
Oh, do you?
Yeah, so I love to stretch, but
So you not only have the competition, you were a bodybuilder, right?
I was, yeah.
But you also had the dance as well.
I was a synchronized swimmer and a dancer and triathlete. I've done a lot of things.
Amazing at the age of 25. Oh, I'm sorry. There are a couple of 25s in there.
You spend a month doing each one. So
yeah, okay.
You get 12 disciplines in a year.
you are amazing. I'm totally impressed. Totally impressed. Oh, wow, that's...
But even now, at my age, I try and do things that are challenging. And right now I teach acrobatic pole. So,
my gosh.
I don't do any of the crazy stuff that you'll see on YouTube that the kids are doing now, which is really amazing. But I do
they can
really
hold
challenge.
on, upside down.
Yeah, I do that
with one hand. I'm
and planche the body out and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. But what it is that I think that as you get older, you need to find challenges, but challenges that you can manage.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that climb mountains and so forth. If that's a thing for you, that's great. If you jump out of an airplane, like many people are marking their 90th birthdays jumping out of airplanes, that's great. I don't see any reason to leave a perfectly good airplane.
I totally agree. And I really love first class. Why would I want to jump out of it?
I'd rather stay with the pilot. But anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
In the senior fitness, you want to try and find something that is a little bit of a challenge that you can do. That you can do safely, and that you can do on a consistent and regular basis.
Well, how many times would you recommend that they get to the gym and work out?
Even if they don't go to the gym, if you were to grab, have a set of light weights at home and go through the motions, you should try and do it, if you can, 30 minutes every day.
Wow, okay.
The recommendations.
Okay, are you hearing this? This is really important. 30 minutes a day. Get up off the chair and go do some exercises. The other thing also, just cans of vegetables. Just using that, as weights.
Well, nowadays, if you go to some place like one of the discount stores, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, or something like that, they always have discounted weights and things that you can pick up. And you need one pair. The idea is to make it consistent. And give yourself something where you're taking each body part and that you divide it up to arms and chest and all the major muscle groups. Take them through a range of motion because many of the things we do in life, we start to shut down our ranges of motion as we get older. So you want to try and keep as large a range of motion and activities as you can, taking the body through those ranges, because you never know. It's like the person that says, well, I bent over the other day and my back went out. Well, you know what? If you went through that range of motion as part of your functional training, you probably wouldn't have that issue. Not to say there aren't things like stenosis and other
medical
diseases and medical issues that can cause a problem. But for the generally healthy person, take that body through a range of motions. If you're exercising, you got stairs in your house and you got a stoop, step up and down on the stoop. You don't necessarily have to spend the money to go to a gym. And if you go to a gym, try to get some supervised help on the equipment. And then once you get that supervised help, make a little routine out for yourself. Write it down on a little index card and bring it with you. And then every couple of months or so, or weeks, or whatever it is that you need to in order to keep yourself fresh, ask them to take you through a couple of more exercises and little variations on the exercises.
Well, the other thing, though, too, is I know how important it is to have somebody there to be able to watch you and make sure that you are doing it positive and that you're not turning in a wrong way, that your body, your posture, everything is in alignment. So, that's when I always recommend a trainer.
Yes.
Even if it's for a half an hour once a week, you can do the other stuff on your own, 30 minutes every day.
30 minutes.
Well, yeah. But at least, give yourself that half hour with a professional so that you can be trained, so the body can be trained.
Correct.
In the proper positioning and the proper function of the muscle masses.
Right. And that also helps because your perception of where you are in space may not be correct.
Right.
Because if you're used to moving a certain way, let's say your shoulders high or your hips twisted or something like that,
Or
that
your shoulders
feels
go
normal
in
to you.
Yeah,
Correct.
or your shoulders go in.
Correct.
Especially when you're pulling something.
Yeah, if you have front cross syndrome, where you're rounding forward, and many of us do because most of our daily function is forward flexion.
Yes.
Computer, driving, everything is forward flexion. So it's not often that you get to extend the spine and lift up. So we overstretch the back muscles and we shorten the chest muscles, and everything gets pulled forward.
Right.
So even just taking your hands and putting them on the door jamb and walking through and stretching that chest, that helps to open those muscles up. But when you exercise, think about you have for front and the back, agonist and antagonist. You try, and whatever you do for one muscle group, there's an opposing muscle group that should be moved through a range of motion. And if you do that, pretty much you'll have some balance in your workouts.
Yeah, well, that's so important that you say that, because it a lot of times, if you're doing your thighs, let's say, and you do it at a particular, you're doing the leg extensions.
Leg extension, correct.
Yeah, and you've got a particular weight that you're doing. A lot of times people forget to do the back, the hamstrings, and you've got to do both of them.
Exactly.
And I've always been taught also that you use the same kind of weight for the front and the back. Yeah.
Because your quadriceps are typically stronger than your hamstrings, mostly because of, again, the way we work and the way we locomote. You're tending to utilize the quadriceps more than the hamstrings. But when you're conditioning, if you can pay attention to keeping some sort of semblance of equality between the two, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. What else would you like the audience to know? What other valuable information can you share with them?
Well, we're here in South Florida. We're here in Florida, period. In most of the warm weather areas, you have an abundance of pools. Swimming, water work is absolutely phenomenal for the person who maybe can't take weight on land. So getting in the water, get some old sneakers or something. You can buy water shoes online or go to a store and get water shoes so you get better traction in the pool and walk in the pool. The nice thing about the water is that you get something called positive, meaning that no matter where you move your limbs or your body, there's always resistance. So unlike when you're working through one plane on the gym, you have resistance going up because of gravity, and you have resistance going down, but you can cheat a little bit on that. In water, when you move, you've always got resistance no matter where you go, and it's refreshing. If you want to sit outside,
I don't think you overheat in the water.
You can. You definitely can, but it's much nicer than sweating.
I think that's if you're doing some really, major swimming.
Yeah, and you can get things like styrofoam. They have these foam weights that actually work with resistance in the water because they float, and of course, if you pull them down, they're going to become more and more resistive to the buoyancy. So you can work with things like that. You can just take your hands and open them and catch as much water as you can and create resistance.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Through. So there's plenty that you can do that doesn't have to do if you don't want to go to a gym or you're by the pool and you want to get a little sun anyway. Get in the water and work. The reduction of gravity is always good for those who have maybe arthritis or some joint problems where they can't take the force of striking the ground. You can get one of those little noodles, those long styrofoam noodles, and wrap them around your waistline and go a little deeper in the water and run. And you can also go through a bigger range of motion with your limbs because you don't have the restriction of gravity.
Wow, that's very interesting. That is right. And I think almost every place around here has a pool.
I know.
So it should be easy. Okay, 30 minutes every single day.
That's it. Do that 30 minutes
or
and
just
get
in the water. Yeah, absolutely.
Go in the morning when the water's a little cooler. If you like warmer water, go later in the day when the sun has heated the water, if you have an unheated pool. But you can always go at any time, especially on the weekends, and mix it up. Mix it up and walk, swim. You can ride a bike. You can do anything. If you happen to be somebody who's a little more impaired, water is excellent. You can do rubber bands if you can't get up and move weights. If you have issues with your hands, you can use their weighted gloves that are available. You put the gloves on so you don't have to close the hand and you can move the arm. So there are many, many things out there that you can utilize to work for fitness in your own way.
Gotcha.
Very customized.
So tell us again, how do we reach you?
You can reach me via Avenue Pilates, and the number there is 330-7117, or you can reach me by calling my personal cell phone at 561-400-4710.
Okay, one more time and a little bit slower.
Okay.
Get your pen and your paper out there so you can write this down because you're going to love her. She's absolutely amazing, and she's so knowledgeable. Oh my goodness!
I've been doing this for a long time.
Oh no!
25 times 25.
Just a little while, So tell us again, the telephone number for the Avenue Pilates and Fitness.
Avenue Pilates in Delray.
Okay. 561?
561
Okay.
330-7117. Or you can reach me personally on my cell phone at 561-400-4710.
Excellent. Well, it's been absolutely wonderful having you.
It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, by all means. And I'm really looking forward to any phone calls that might be coming in, or anybody that's inquiring about you. We'll pass that on. So, even if you haven't had the opportunity of being able to call in tonight, give us a call anyhow, and we'll forward that information. You'll be able to get a hold of Carla. And now we're going to go on a break. And again, thank you so much.
Lorraine, it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure to have you here, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, thanks, and you too.
And I got to tell you, if you want somebody to really teach you, you have to make sure that they're doing it themselves.
Correct.
And I will tell you, this woman does it herself. Her body, there must be, 0.0% fat on her body.
I wish, but that doesn't hold true when you get older.
Well, I got to tell you, it's absolutely amazing. Well, thank you again, Carla. And we appreciate your time and your energy and your smile.
Thank you, Lorena.
And
yours too.
And we will talk again.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
All County Healthcare, Inc. is locally owned and operated, serving the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward counties for the last 25 years. The practice of medicine is changing dramatically. All County Healthcare, Inc. still does it the old-fashioned way, where our nurses and healthcare professionals come into your home to service your medical needs, providing you the fastest and best care possible. For more information, call 954-717-7027. And remember, Medicare Home Care is covered by Part A of Medicare with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's your decision, and only your decision, on what healthcare agency you use. Call today. All County Home Health Care, Inc. at 954-717-7027. License 200999096.
Hi, I'm Deanna Barron, RN with All County Home Care. You know how I know that I've done a good job? We say goodbye. After you understand the medications you take, once you know that gaining 2 pounds in one day means you should call the doctor, when your wound is healed, when you can use your nebulizer all by yourself, when the goals that you and your all-county team of nurses, therapists, and aides established are met, we say goodbye. Very nice to meet you. But I hope I don't see you again, and I mean that in the nicest way possible.
You are listening to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, an informative show that helps you find answers to questions you always wanted to ask, but did not have that somebody that could make a difference in your life. Call into the show if you have a question at 888-565-1470, and we will put you on the air to inform all our listeners. Now, back to our show.
Well, hi again. Welcome back. As I said before, this is being presented by AMP2.tv. You can watch us live on You and Your Doctor. Also, you can, it's live streamed on allcountyhealthcare.com. Please, we want you to call in if you've got any questions whatsoever. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 888-565-1470, 1470. Give us a call. My next guest is here from
Lake Worth.
From Lake Worth. Okay. And Dr. Ken Jaffe is joining us, and he's an internist. So welcome. It's great to have you.
Appreciate it.
It's great to have you. Are you kidding? Yeah. So if you have any questions, by the way, for Dr. Jaffe, please give us a call. We would love to help inform you and educate you so that you can make the proper choices in your own health care and the proper doctors. You know, sometimes it gets a little confusing and everything to have different doctors. And, you know, sometimes as we're growing older, we don't know where to turn. You know, when we were younger, we just went to a general practitioner. And then all of a sudden, you know, now we've got these little symptoms here, a little symptom there. So please help us with that. Please describe what an intern is. Internist,
an internist is a person that pretty much deals with adult medicine. And I always say from 10 to 100. We do, in my practice, a little bit of adolescent medicine, and we go down to 10. And my oldest patient was 105. So I sometimes will say 10 to 105.
Was?
Was.
In heaven now, right?
Exactly.
Excellent.
So commonly I get questions like, you know, have you seen my diagnosis before? You know, what experience do you have with certain problems? And I always tell people as an internist, we're sort of taught to deal with everything. I had an interesting patient some time back who had a problem with her kidney that I really wasn't familiar with. Mm-hmm. So the average doctor would figure out what they're going to do for that person. I called the CDC. They gave me a reference. And I
CDC, just so we know. What's that?
Centers for Disease Control.
Oh, okay.
And they have a help desk. And so I commonly would tell people that even as a patient, you can call them and they can give you literature or direction on how to deal with a problem.
That's really interesting. And, you know, I just want to emphasize that at this moment. Okay. So if you do happen to have a question about what's going on in your body that you're unfamiliar with, you can call the CDC.
The National Institute of Health in Maryland. You can call the CDC and they will direct you. A lot of times people go to Dr. Google for their answers, and it's not always the best way to do it.
Oh, yeah, that could be kind of dangerous. Yeah. Dr. Google.
Because they don't know how to use the information, though they're given all this data on a problem.
Yeah. Or, you know, the other one I saw was WebMD.
Yeah, those are very helpful sites, and there's a lot of them. A lot of times you could just put in a symptom, and it will give you direction.
Okay, great.
You know.
So tell me some more about an internist.
Well, you know, we primarily deal with adults. And so everything, all the common stuff, the diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. And most specialists in medicine were an internist to start with, a cardiologist, a heart doctor, a kidney doctor, a lung doctor. They all have to go through that general course before they subspecialize.
Oh, okay.
So your cardiologist was an internist, your kidney doctor was an internist, your lung doctor was an internist. So some will direct off and do fellowships, and some will stay in general internal medicine, which is what I do.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. Because I, you know, I've not had an internist.
Yeah, the old family, you know,
the general practitioner.
Yeah, they were GP. Usually family practitioner doctors, where an internist is primarily an adult doctor. Family practice would do pediatrics along with GYN or OB. Right. And I don't do either of those.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. Sure. Okay, excellent. So, one of the questions, I mean, let's take a look at whether or not you trust your doctor.
It's a good question. And I don't believe, you know, that people are going to figure out how to trust their doctor by asking the general questions that they'll have on the internet. How many times have you treated this problem? You know, how long have you been in practice? I think the better question is to sit down and talk to that person. Mm-hmm. Do you relate to them? Mm-hmm. And if you can, that's where you build trust. Mm-hmm. And building that trust will get you halfway there. You come in with diabetes. If you don't believe that I'm going to do everything possible and correct to help your diabetes, then I'm the wrong person for you. You have to understand and believe that person's going to help you the most they can. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. That's where that trust becomes important.
Well, a lot of it happens to be, you know, what they call the bedside manner.
Right.
So,
and they don't teach you that.
No, I you know something, I have to agree with you. It's the care and the understanding and the nurturing that a doctor gives that allows that connection to happen, and how imperative that is. Because if they don't trust you and you don't have a good bedside manner, they can't open up.
Exactly. My dad once said that it's not the patient's fault that they're sick, and all they may have is hope. You've got to figure out how to give them hope at times. Most of my stuff is general, run-of-the-mill stuff where I give you a medicine or a treatment and you get better. But there's a small group of people that no matter what you do for them, they're not going to get better. But you have to give them hope that they can pursue and continue. That doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. That is tough.
You know.
So, yeah, I mean, just sitting here talking with you tonight, I've not met you before,
Right.
but I've got to say that you have a very warm feel about you. You know, you got a
appreciate
big
it.
smile.
I like what I do.
Do you?
You know, when I was a kid, I was the one they always called to put a Band-Aid on somebody because they knew I always wanted to be a doctor. I always found something very...
I love that. Did you carry around the little doctor's kit? Remember when we were growing up?
But it was always me that they would call to put a Band-Aid on or something like that.
Oh, that's
I always
amazing.
found it very intriguing that when you went to the doctor, he made you better. He had that skill, that knowledge, and I loved it.
Oh, that's...
I thought that was better than sliced bread.
I can see you walking around with a
Stethoscope.
Thank you. My tongue got turned upside down there, but and the little doctor's kit with the
Yeah.
Band-Aids in it.
Well, one of the first things I bought in medical school was one of those old-fashioned doctor bags. And
No
I still
way.
have it. Yeah,
You're kidding.
just
oh my
because
God.
every doctor has to have one of those.
Do you use it or is it just a
No,
relic?
It's just pretty much has my initials on it. It's just something everyone should have.
Oh, that's so cute. I love it. I love it. So how long have you been practicing?
So I came down here in '99. I graduated in '99 from my residency, so I've been here 17 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. And where are you located?
I have two offices, one by JFK Hospital in Atlantis and one office in Lake Worth.
Okay. And those are private practices?
Right.
Excellent. So give us your telephone number so that...
My office number is 561-439-0308.
One more time.
561-439-0308.
Okay, excellent. So if you have any questions for Dr. Jaffe, please give him a call at his office number. If you are looking for somebody who has got a very warm personality, great bedside manner, not that I would know that, but I mean, just talking with him here on the air, please give him a call. You know, there are just some doctors that you would never know are doctors because they're down to earth. You know, they've got a warmth about them that they just want to help you feel better. They want to help you heal.
Right.
So, and that's kind of the energy that I'm picking up.
I tell you, when I first started, patients used to ask me how old I was. Since I've got a little gray hair, they don't ask me anymore.
25. I think we're on this 25 thing.
They always used to tell me that their children were older than me, so please
Oh, my
get me an
goodness.
older doctor. And sometimes an older doctor is not necessarily a better doctor.
Well, yeah, I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
But you don't look much past 30.
Thank you.
There we go. But you're right, because a lot of the technology, a lot of the understanding and the knowledge
Right.
that you've attained has come through so many different years. You know,
Exactly.
so it's, you know, the things that we thought we knew 20 or 30 years ago is nothing in comparison to what we know.
When I started in school, they said that the amount of information in medicine doubles every 6 years. I'm sure that it's much less than that.
Wow.
It's surprising how much information. In fact, I believe in my lifetime they'll have a cure for cancer. I know as crazy as that sounds.
No, I love it.
We were fortunate. President Reagan, one of the things he did for us is he established mapping the genome, which meant that every gene in our body, we would figure out what disease was on what gene and where it was in our chromosomes. Well, it started in 1980. It took them about 20 years. And now they know where all these diseases, where they fall in our genes. And based on that, they can reverse them. So it's going to be very interesting in the next 20 or 30 years.
Well, it's been really interesting, even these last 10 years.
Right.
And some of the discoveries that they have made.
Like hepatitis C, the treatment now is almost like a cure. I mean, there's a lot of interesting diseases that we're able to fix and reverse.
Wow.
I commonly will personify disease. We can fix it, we can correct it. I always think that if you can take the feeling out of it just a little bit, that builds confidence with the patient. I always compare it to a car. for some reason. For me, that's always been helpful. Pretty much. We're going to kick the tires, we're going to change the oil, and we're going to make you better.
I love it. A tune-up.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, I kind of use that in my work as well because I'm a life and energy coach.
Right.
So I kind of use that, let's
Yeah.
get a tune-up. Just come on
Exactly.
in. Let's get a
And
tune-up.
that seems to, sort of take that stress away a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting
Absolutely.
stuff.
So, what are some of the areas that we really need to concentrate on as we are growing in our age level there?
It's a good question, and one of the things that is really, really important is the prevention of a disease.
Okay.
Primary, secondary, tertiary prevention. Let me get in primary prevention. We eat well, we sleep well. In secondary prevention, you get high blood pressure. We give you a pill. In tertiary prevention, you have bad heart disease. You have to have open heart surgery. And now we're sort of back swimming. So we're trying to fix problems before they occur. That's really the key to disease.
Prevention?
Key. Now, when I say that to people, they say, well, it takes too much time. Now, a lot of the literature is pushing for 4 visits a year for people. The key is to find a problem before you find it. I always say, if I find it before you find it, I can fix it.
Yes.
If you find it before I can, it's very difficult to fix.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Okay.
seeing people as 4 times a year is really very important. In fact, Medicare
So
is
once a quarter.
pretty much, Medicare is pushing for that. In fact, they're rewarding physicians to see their patients more frequently.
No way.
Yes.
I love
Because
that.
they don't want you to they don't want you to necessarily treat a problem. They want you to prevent that problem.
Yeah. And do you know how much cheaper that would be?
It would be a lot cheaper.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely.
They talk about for women mammograms, seeing the gynecologist, all kinds of good for men, again, colonoscopy, prostate exams, PSAs, all those things to prevent a problem is the key here. Now, I tell people that I say, oh, you want my $10 copay. It doesn't have anything to do with the $10 copay. It has to do with treating disease and preventing disease.
I've got to tell you, I absolutely love that because for the longest time, I've always thought that the whole medical arena there, they were not into prevention.
Yeah,
they were into making money off the diseases.
Right. And I've been saying for a long time that's not the way to treat the problem. The way to treat the problem is to prevent it.
Absolutely.
If I know
Absolutely.
you're pre-diabetic, I don't wait for you to become full blown. I start early. So the longer I can keep you off medicine with diet alone, the better you'll do in the long run.
Yeah, that's excellent. So, diet, everyone. Talk to us about diet.
Well, how about the biggest problem is obesity. Okay, and it's very simple to be considered obese. It's based on a BMI, basal metabolic index, which compares your
That's
weight.
right over their head.
And what it's doing is it's comparing your weight to your height. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So that you across the board can compare 2 people. Because if you're saying one person is 300 pounds, but they're 6'5", another person is 5'6",
and 300 pounds,
and
we
300
got a problem.
You have to compare apples to apples. So we
Right.
use the BMI, basal metabolic index, which compares their weight to their height. So across the board, above 30 is considered obese. All right?
Okay.
And then they have super obese, morbidly obese. They have a whole realm of different categories, but fat is fat.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that the key to weight loss is diet and exercise. And it sounds very cliche because they want it off fast. The cookie diet, the South Beach diet. I'm not fans of those diets.
I know. The grapefruit diet.
Right.
You know,
Because you have to make a change in your normal lifestyle. Let's say, for
Exactly.
example, you like to eat McDonald's. Well, you can go to McDonald's, but you have to have a small hamburger, a small drink. You can do that.
once a month.
Well, I think you can do it more frequently because I think it's all based on calories.
Yeah.
It's on calories and saturated fats, but they're all one thing. If you ate 1,500 calories a day on a normal person, let's say 12 to 1,600, you're going to lose weight if you're reducing the amount of calories. I also say, but no one would pay me if I wrote it down, that if you exercise 15 minutes a day.
Okay, wait a minute. Write this down. Now, we just had a fitness expert in, and she said 30 minutes.
I don't agree, and I'll tell you why.
Uh-oh.
Because 30 minutes is a lot.
Okay.
30 minutes.
Can we break that up, though? Can we do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the
Theoretically,
afternoon?
you could. No one's written this down. This is
Okay.
just what I tell my
Okay.
patients. 15 minutes, 5 to 7 days a week. You're going to lose weight. Why? Because you're doing more than you normally would do. You're eating less, you're exercising more. And if you lose a pound a week, that would be considered normal. So if you lose 20 pounds in 4 months, that would be okay. Would it not?
Yeah, and building
And
muscle as well.
Building muscle, increasing. Now, the cardiovascular stuff they're talking about for 30 minutes is they're saying that you're going to reduce heart disease. I believe if you lose weight, you're going to reduce heart disease.
Absolutely.
So let's take what we can get. I tell people, set a clock, 15 minutes, Monday through Friday, and if you do it on Saturday and Sunday, that's great. For 15 minutes, you can do anything for 15 minutes. So I say you walk out 7.5, you walk back 7.5. Anything that you don't normally do will help you lose weight and increase your overall health.
Yeah. But listen, don't let him think you got to get that extra 15 minutes of the functional training in as well, because that's really important. You want to keep those muscles and those joints working. You want to work those muscles so that they work properly as you're doing twisting and turning and standing and sitting. So, incorporate all of it. Now, you don't have to do the functional exercise every single day, although Carla just had said, yes, that's the optimum, though,
right,
as well. And especially if somebody's been sedentary for a long period of time, it's really difficult to start getting that metabolism working
but
and
when
getting
you tell
that
people to do 30
energy.
minutes, people that don't exercise are going to get out there and try to do 30 minutes. I mean, theoretically, you'd want them to build up to that.
Yeah, so that yes, build up to it slowly. Absolutely. You're right. But get moving, though. No more sitting and just sitting and just sitting and just sitting. You got to get up. You got to move. You got to pump that blood. What I say is get a little sweat going.
A little bit.
I want to see a little sweat. Yes, because that means that the heart's starting to pump and you're moving that blood, the energy's starting to move. And you know something, when you finish, you'll feel so good.
It's true. Endorphins get moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's that feel-good feeling.
Right.
Excellent. I love it. So, how often should we see our doctor? I mean,
like I say, probably 4 times a year, every 3 months. Now, if you're younger, then I do it twice a year based on how old you are. If you're 50 and you have no medical problems, then maybe twice a year is okay. But if you're Medicare age, 4 times a year for sure.
Okay.
Even if you're healthy, you got to see those people 4 times a year because unfortunately they're going to get sick, and you're going to try to prevent that or at least reduce it.
I love the word prevention. I think that
I honestly think that's the key.
It is the whole key, and it's always been the key. So I'm thrilled that you would be promoting that.
I've done that for a long time that way. It's convincing people that take the time. And I always say, look, I can have you in, I can have you out. I believe just watching them walk down the hall, sometimes you can tell if there's a problem, if you know the patient.
Yeah, that's true. Because they can either be waddling or
something's
limping
off.
or something. Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit about the medications as well. What ends up happening if we're on those medications? How does that interact?
I always tell people that you know how much money you have in the bank, you should know exactly what medicines you're taking and why they're taking them. You should always write them down. And the key for that is polypharmacy, which means that Dr. A gives you a drug to fix a problem, but Dr. B gives you another drug that you don't realize are doing the same thing. And so that's a big problem in the Medicare or above population, is that you're polypharmacy, you're taking too much medicine. Now, I always get the question, doctor, do I really have to take these pills? But you have to sort of weigh the pros and cons of taking a pill, the benefit versus the risk. And I will commonly say, look, you're taking 10 drugs. 3 of them you're taking primarily just to make you feel better, but it's not going to do anything in the long run. You can say, oh, no, doctor, I need those 3 drugs. So it's all based on,
Well, they become emotionally connected to the pill.
I tell people, look, can you afford your medicine? Yes. Then we're trying to decide how much you're taking. And I always say, I can't tell them how much you're taking. Only you can tell them. So ego plays a role. I say, when someone asks what you take, you tell them nothing. I don't take anything. I'm so wonderful. When in hindsight, you really take 10 pills.
Oh, no problem. No. Yeah,
I always say to people, if I give you 5 medicines and you live 5 years longer, would you take the 5 pills? And they stop and I said, you'd say yes or no. You can't have anything in between.
Yeah. There's no humming here.
90+% will say, yeah, I would take the 5 pills. I say, you're 75 years old. You have a 75-year-old car. I mean, you're driving around the street, you're revving it up. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're expecting your 75-year-old body to do everything it did when it was 25 years old, and sometimes
Or even 50.
right, things break down, and the role of these pills is to put you back to some close resemblance of what it should be, but what it was before.
Yeah.
So the key is knowing what you're taking and why you're taking it.
Yeah, and then informing your doctors,
Right.
the various
Every
doctors.
time you see a new doctor, and there's a lot of push to have sort of that electronic medical record follow you around.
Yeah.
And you can do your own. I mean, you could keep a list of your surgeries, a list of your allergies, a list of the meds, and you can give it to every doctor you go to, sort of preempt the visit. This is what I'm doing. And the smart patient will keep a list, much like how much money you have in the bank. You should keep all those things straight. And you don't even have to understand it all, but you have to have it written down.
Right. Well, the other thing I've seen too is that they have flash drives.
Yeah, you can store it. There's a lot of companies out there that will charge you like a cable service to store all your data. That will help you, for $15 a month, we'll store all your data and it will travel with you on the internet wherever you go.
I mean, have we come to such a golden age here, where things are right at our fingertips, and all we have to do is go on our iPad or our laptop. That's absolutely amazing. It's amazing.
Out there.
Yeah.
Your electronic record will follow you wherever you go.
That is so cool. So, what have you noticed that has come up recently? What's new out there? New discoveries that you are identifying today?
There's a lot of great medicines for diabetes. I mean, it's amazing that the new approach for that is to go after the core defects, they call it. There's a problem with the heart. There's a problem with the blood vessels. There's a problem with the kidneys. And these drugs are now going after, ideally, not just lowering the blood sugar, but helping the body function with diabetes and pushing it more towards normal, having the organs believe that this is a normal process. Because ultimately what you're trying to prevent with respect to diabetes is the sequelae, the side effects of that disease. It affects the kidneys, it affects the eyes, it affects the long nerves. So they get foot ulcers, they end up on dialysis, they go blind. So you're trying to prevent the disease process by going after what's called the core defects with the disease. And that's been relatively new over the past few years.
That is incredible.
They've been pushing for that.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. So that's excellent. The other thing I had heard as well, at least in my age now, I'm finding that a lot of my friends are having cancer.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Obamacare has really done for us. It's brought people to healthcare that weren't seeking healthcare before. And so there's finding a lot. I mean, personally, in my own practice, we found and diagnosed a lot of cancer.
Really?
Because they just were pretty much ignoring the problem because of the high cost of their healthcare. They weren't able to afford it.
Right.
But now they're being forced into healthcare, and it's doing more good than bad. That's why I say I wanted them to change. I want them to modify it, but not stop the Obamacare.
Yeah, gotcha.
Make it better.
Gotcha. Well, it's just the beginning, though, too.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't really understand how it's going to affect the change until you're in it and experiencing it. So, but that's amazing. That's great news.
But a lot of disease, like I spoke about hepatitis C. I mean, before people would die with that disease, now the new medicines out there are just an amazing process that cure 99% of those people.
Wow.
And the 1%, they get retreated and they usually do well.
That's incredible. Yeah, because that used to be real debilitating.
Oh, yeah.
For the liver.
Oh, yeah. They would get end-stage liver disease and pretty much die from that. So pretty much those people have come off that, liver transplant group. They don't have to transplant those people. They can cure them.
That's really amazing, too, because I know that there were, I've known quite a few people that were sitting waiting on a wait list for a new liver, and some of them didn't get there.
Because in order to move up on the list, you have to get sicker. And so it's sort of a thin line between how sick you are and when you get the liver.
Oh, okay.
It's true for most organ transplants.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, let's see here. What other questions? What should we be asking our doctor?
I always tell people that you should ask the doctor, have I not asked you a question I should have? Throw it back at them.
Really? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, say that one more time. Please write this down. This is really important.
You're in there, you're newly diagnosed with high blood pressure, and you ask a bunch of questions. And so you can say to I always say in my own practice, I am not going to ask the questions that you're supposed to ask. But I will answer any question you have. But but I'm not the type of person to ask them for you. So I've reversed it. I said, you asked the doctor, what should I have asked you? What didn't I ask you that I should have?
That's so.
And the
I
doctor,
love that.
and he or she is going to stop and think. Well,
absolutely.
In the case of diabetes, you should have asked me the long-term side effects of the disease, because that's really what's important here. That's what we're trying to prevent.
Right.
And high blood pressure. How good or bad is your heart? What should we do for that? So it's sort of a reverse psychology
It
kind
is.
of
I
thing.
love that. Yeah.
And they're going to stop and think, and they're going to ask that question and answer it for you.
Oh, I love that.
And
I think that's the greatest question. I
do
love
that for my own family. Even though I have a working knowledge of it, I will calmly say to the doctor, is there something I should have asked you I didn't? And you'd be surprised how they respond.
Yeah, I would be surprised. I totally respond.
It's a complete reversal, and I like that.
I do too. I like that a lot.
When I talk about the trust relationship between a patient and a doctor, I always make an analogy between chocolate cake. Every time you come see me, I'm going to give you the best piece of chocolate cake you've ever had. And you know that when you come and see me, you're going to get that. You don't care how much eggs, how much water, how much milk, but you believe that I'm going to give you the best piece. The same for medicine. You believe that I'm going to have your best interested care. And there are some questions you don't even need to ask, because I've already asked them in my mind and answered them for you. So when I did research about our talk today, I went to the internet and said, what are the 10 most common questions that people ask? They didn't seem like questions you should ask. How many times have you treated this problem? I don't think it's a fair question. But when you have that trust in that person, that they're going to do everything for you, those questions are asked and answered. That's what I believe.
I like that. So tell us again, how do we get a hold of you?
My office number, the big office number, is 561-439-0308.
Okay.
The staff is happy to help.
That sounds fabulous. And Dr. Ken Jaffe, Jaffe. Thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight. We really do appreciate you being here. And please remember that this show is on every Tuesday, live from 6 to 7, and it's You and Your Doctor. It's streaming live on amp2.tv and also on 1470 AM. We want you to participate. Call in if you have any questions, and we'll see you next week. It's great to be here with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for letting us share with you a longer and healthier lifestyle. If you have a doctor or are a doctor and wish to be on the show, call AMP2TV at 866-244-5422, and we will put you on the air as soon as possible. Tune in next week for more information on living longer and having a healthier life. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and